Have you ever had one of those days where everything feels quiet? Not peaceful quiet, but the kind of silence that lingers almost too long. You make your tea, sit in your favorite chair, maybe glance out the window. The world keeps turning, but somehow it feels like it's turning without you. If that sounds familiar, please know you're not alone. After 60, even people who've always felt strong and independent can begin to feel the slow weight of loneliness. It doesn't always happen suddenly. Sometimes it sneaks in. One friend moves away. A neighbor passes. The phone rings less. The routines that once gave your days meaning begin to fade. And without realizing it, you find yourself asking, is this just how it is now? But here's the truth. Loneliness may be part of growing older, but it doesn't have to take over your life. What you're feeling is real, and it's something many people your age quietly go through. But it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It simply means that your life is shifting, and your heart is calling out for a new kind of connection, one that matches the person you are today. Because you're still here. You still have stories to tell, laughter to share, and joy to feel. Sometimes, all it takes is a gentle change, a small practice that opens a window, letting that joy come back in. And that brings us to the first small step, bringing back structure to your day. Start with your morning. When you retire or begin living alone, mornings can feel unanchored. There's no rush to get dressed. No one waiting for breakfast. The quiet stretches on. And while it might seem like freedom, too much unstructured time can start to feel empty. That's when the mind begins to wander, not always in good directions. Regret, old memories, worry, they can all grow louder when there's nothing in place to hold them back. But a morning routine, no matter how simple, gives your day a heartbeat. Let me tell you about Dorothy. She's 76, a widow for the past 3 years. When her husband passed, her mornings changed completely. No coffee poured for two, no gentle conversation. She told me, I'd just lie in bed too long, then get up, do a few things, and before I knew it, it was already dark. I didn't feel like myself anymore. Then one morning, Dorothy decided to change one thing. She started lighting a small candle by her kitchen window before making her tea. No big ceremony, just light, warmth, and a few deep breaths. From there, she added a soft stretch. Then she started writing down one thing she was grateful for. Slowly, her mornings became something she looked forward to again. Not rushed, not empty, but hers. That's the beauty of a gentle morning practice. It doesn't have to be impressive. It just has to be real. You might sit with a devotional or an old favorite book. You might hum a tune while preparing your breakfast. Maybe you water the plants and greet them like old friends. The important part is this. You're showing up for yourself. And when you do that first thing in the day, it sets the tone for everything that follows. When your morning has shape, your day has meaning. And no, it's not about fixing loneliness in one step. It's about planting a seed. The kind that slowly says, I matter, my time matters. I still have a rhythm worth keeping. So tomorrow morning, instead of reaching for your phone or turning on the TV out of habit, try something different. Light that candle. Open a window and listen. Write down one sentence about how you're feeling. Even if it's, I don't know what I'm feeling. Because even the act of noticing yourself again is powerful. It brings you home to your own heart. And that's where joy begins to return, not all at once, but gently, quietly, like morning light through the curtains. Once your mornings begin to feel more grounded, it becomes easier to carry that sense of calm and purpose into the rest of your day. But loneliness doesn't always show up just in the morning. It can sneak in during those long, quiet afternoons, the ones that used to be filled with company, errands, or work. Now they stretch out and the silence starts to feel too loud. That's why the next powerful practice to bring joy back into your life is reaching out regularly, even in small ways. You might be thinking, but I don't want to bother anyone, or people are busy with their own lives. And yes, it's true. Friends and family often have full schedules, and sometimes they forget to check in. But here's something important to remember. Connection isn't just about long phone calls or family gatherings. It can start with something as simple as a wave across the street, a kind message, or a short chat with the cashier at the market. We all need reminders that we're still part of the world. And the world needs reminders of us too. I remember a woman named Teresa. She was 81, living in a quiet neighborhood after her husband passed away. For a while, she kept to herself. "No one really calls anymore," she said. "So I just stopped expecting it." But then she made one small change. She started writing postcards. Not long letters, not anything fancy. Just simple notes, a memory, a kind thought, a recipe she'd seen in the paper. She mailed them to her niece, her old neighbor, even a friend from church she hadn't seen in years. And slowly, the replies came back. A short phone call, a letter, a knock at the door. Teresa told me. It wasn't about getting anything back. It was about reminding myself I still have something to give. That's the heart of it. Reaching out isn't about waiting for someone to invite you in. It's about offering your hand first, even gently. You could send a photo with a sweet note to your grandchildren. Call an old friend just to say, "I was thinking about you today." If you enjoy writing, start a little letter writing habit. Not because you're chasing conversation, but because it feels good to share a piece of yourself. And here's something lovely. Kindness has a way of rippling back. The more you reach out, the more likely it is that others will begin to reach toward you. Not always right away, but slowly, like light returning after a long winter. And it's not only people from your past. You can make new connections too, even now. One man I met, Gerald, started taking a daily walk at the same time every morning. At first, he walked alone. Then he began to notice the same woman tending to her garden. One day, he waved. The next week, she said hello. Within a month, they were chatting every morning. Nothing big, just friendly words. But to Gerald, those moments made him feel human again. So ask yourself gently, when was the last time I reached out, even in a small way? Could today be the day you make that call? Write that note? Wave to that neighbor? Because loneliness loses its grip when we begin to connect. Not just with others, but with a part of ourselves that still wants to be seen, heard, and felt. And it's okay to start small. You don't need to fill your calendar or make big plans. Just one connection, one honest moment of warmth, is enough to begin shifting the feeling of being alone into something softer, something more human. And as those little threads of connection begin to grow, something beautiful happens. You start to remember that your presence matters, that you still have the power to brighten someone's day just by being you. That's the kind of joy no one can take away. Because it doesn't depend on who calls first. It lives in the courage to reach out. As you begin reconnecting with people with purpose, even with the gentle rhythm of your mornings, you may notice something starting to shift. Not loudly, but quietly like a soft breeze in spring. A feeling that maybe you don't have to live with that dull ache of loneliness forever. And here's where another powerful practice comes in. One that surprises many people with just how much it can lift the spirit. Moving your body every day with kindness. Now, don't worry. I'm not talking about going to the gym or doing anything strenuous. This isn't about getting into shape or reaching fitness goals. This is about honoring your body, the same body that's carried you through a lifetime of ups and downs. It's about giving it the attention and movement it still longs for, even now. Because something happens when we stop moving. Our muscles stiffen, our energy drops. But more than that, our mood begins to flatten. Our thoughts slow down. Even joy has a harder time finding its way in. You see, movement isn't just physical, it's emotional, too. A gentle walk, a few stretches, a slow dance in your living room. These aren't just exercises. They're invitations to wake up something inside you that's been waiting. Let me tell you about Robert. He's 72 and lives alone. After retiring, he fell into a routine that, to be honest, didn't involve much movement. Sit, eat, nap. The days started to blend together. Then one day, he turned on the radio and heard an old song he loved. Without thinking, he stood up and started to sway. Slowly at first, then with more energy. And for a few minutes, it was just him and the music. Like it used to be, he told me, I didn't realize how heavy I'd been feeling until I moved. And then just like that, something lifted. That's what gentle movement can do. It's not about doing it perfectly. It's about feeling again. You could stretch your arms when you wake up, open a window, and take in a deep breath. You could walk around your garden, or even just up and down the hallway. You could play your favorite song and move however you like. No one's watching. It's just for you. The important thing is that you begin, that you remind your body and your heart that you're still here, still alive, still able to move through life one step at a time. And here's something else to remember. Movement creates energy. You may not feel like doing anything at first, but if you start, even gently, your body responds. Your mind clears, your spirit lifts, and suddenly, the day doesn't feel quite so heavy. One woman I spoke with, named Lucille, began doing seated stretches every morning while watching the sunrise. She said it made her feel less like a bystander in her own day and more like an active participant in her life. Just 5 minutes changed how she felt for hours. You don't have to follow a routine or count steps. Just move with intention, with love, with curiosity. Some days, you'll feel like walking farther. Other days, a little stretch and some deep breathing will be enough. Both are perfectly okay. Because what matters is not how far you go. It's that you choose to move. And in doing so, you tell your body and soul, I haven't given up on you. I'm still here. I still care. And that simple act of care, of moving for yourself, not for anyone else, is an act of joy. So the next time a house feels quiet and the loneliness starts to settle in, try standing up. Roll your shoulders. Wiggle your toes. Take one slow, steady step. Then another. Let your movement be a message. Today, I choose to live this moment fully. Because even when life slows down, your spirit doesn't have to. As your body begins to move again, even in small ways, something else may return alongside it. A sense of lightness, of aliveness. That movement you create with your body begins to ripple into your thoughts, your mood, your sense of connection. But there's another kind of movement that's just as powerful, and that's the movement of the mind. Because loneliness doesn't only come from being apart from others. Sometimes, it comes from feeling stuck inside ourselves. The same thoughts circling, the same memories on repeat. And that's why the next practice that can truly reignite your joy is this. Keeping your mind curious and engaged every single day. It doesn't mean going back to school or solving big puzzles. It means staying mentally awake. Giving your brain something new to chew on. Something to wonder about. Something to look forward to, no matter how small. Have you ever noticed how children are always asking questions? Why is the sky blue? How do birds fly? Their minds are always reaching. And while our bodies may slow with age, that childlike spark, that curiosity, can stay with us if we feed it. Take Eileen, for example. She's 83 and sharp as ever. But a few years ago, after losing her sister and best friend in the same year, she felt a deep fog set in. Everything felt gray, she said. I stopped reading. I stopped listening to music. I didn't want to know anything new. But then, during a doctor's appointment, she noticed a brochure about gardening for pollinators. It caught her eye. Later that week, she went to the library and checked out a book about native plants. That book turned into another, then into a small flower bed, then into conversations with neighbors, and eventually into a little community group. It all started with a spark of curiosity. Keeping your mind engaged doesn't have to be complicated. Maybe you've always wanted to learn how to bake something new. Maybe you're curious about how different cultures celebrate the seasons. Maybe there's an old hobby you set aside years ago. Painting, knitting, woodworking, playing a musical instrument, and it's quietly waiting for you to return. Even watching documentaries, reading short stories, or learning a few words in a different language can wake something up inside. The goal isn't mastery. It's movement. It's saying to yourself, I'm still growing. I'm still discovering. And here's something beautiful. When your mind is curious, it leaves less room for loneliness. You stop focusing on what you've lost, and instead, start noticing what there is still to explore. I once spoke with a man named Alan, 79, who began learning about the stars. He started small, just looking at the moon through binoculars from his back porch. Then came constellation charts. Now, every clear night, he steps outside and looks up. It reminds me how big the world still is, he told me, and that I'm still part of it. That's what a curious mind gives you. Not just knowledge, but a sense of belonging. A reminder that the world hasn't forgotten you, and you haven't forgotten how to wonder. And curiosity can be shared, too. Maybe you join a book club, even an online one. Maybe you talk to your grandchild about something they love and ask, "Tell me more about that. What do you enjoy about it?" These little moments of asking, of learning, of showing interest, they connect us deeply. So today, ask yourself gently, what have I always been curious about but never took the time to explore? It doesn't have to be impressive, just honest. Because every time you follow your curiosity, you invite joy back in. You say to your own heart, I'm still here, still learning, still open. And in that openness, loneliness begins to loosen its grip, replaced by wonder, by interest, and by the quiet delight of discovering something new, even now, when your mind begins to stretch again, with fresh thoughts, new interests, and even just a moment of quiet wonder, you start to feel the shift. That heavy blanket of loneliness that once sat on your shoulders starts to feel lighter, looser, less defining. But there's one more piece of this journey we need to talk about, one that many people overlook, but that can bring extraordinary warmth and joy back into your life. It's this: finding ways to be of service to others in ways that feel natural, honest, and doable. Now, when people hear the word service, they sometimes think of big things, volunteering for hours a day or joining a committee. But that's not what this is about. This is about discovering the quiet joy that comes from doing something small for someone else, simply because it feels good. Because here's the secret no one tells you. When you help someone else feel seen, you start to feel seen too. There's a man I met once named Louis. He was 82 and used to work as a mail carrier. After retiring, he spent a lot of time sitting alone, watching old shows, flipping to the same newspaper again and again. I felt invisible, he told me, like no one needed me anymore. Then one day, he heard about a local elementary school that was looking for reading buddies, someone to come in just once a week to help kids practice their reading aloud. He was nervous at first, but he signed up. He started visiting every Wednesday. The first time, the little girl assigned to him barely spoke. By the third visit, she was waiting at the door with a book in her hand. Louis said it was the first time in years he felt truly useful again. That's the power of giving. It reminds us that we still matter, that we have something to offer. You don't have to go far to find that kind of meaning. Maybe it's checking in on a neighbor, sending a thoughtful card to someone who might be going through a hard time, sharing a few cookies you baked, or simply offering a listening ear to someone who's lonelier than you. Even small acts, a kind word, a gentle smile, a compliment to a stranger, can ripple outward in ways you'll never fully see. And those moments feed your heart just as much as they lift someone else's. There's also great meaning in passing along what you've learned. You've lived through joys and hardships, through mistakes and milestones. That wisdom is a gift. Maybe you teach your grandchild how to sew on a button, or share a story from your life with someone younger, or offer advice to a friend who's struggling. When you share, you connect. When you connect, you belong. And let's not forget, even being present for a pet, or tending to your garden, or feeding birds outside your window. These two are forms of service, of care, of giving, and they bring life back into your days in return. You see, loneliness begins to fade not just when we receive love, but when we give it, even in the simplest forms. So ask yourself gently, who might need something I already have? Not money or things, but time, kindness, attention, or simply presence. The answer doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be true. Because when we give without expecting anything back, we become part of something again. We remember our place in the human circle, and the circle remembers us, too. As you reflect on everything we've shared, from finding purpose in your mornings, to reaching out, to moving your body, to engaging your mind, and now to gently offering something yourself to others, I hope you feel a bit of light breaking through. Loneliness is real, but it's not the whole story. You are still here, still capable of joy, still worthy of love and connection and belonging. And you don't need to change your life overnight. You just need to begin with small, steady, kind steps. Let your days be shaped not by what's missing, but by what's possible. And most of all, remember this: you are not forgotten. You are not too late. There is still laughter to be shared, hands to hold, mornings to greet, and moments to cherish. If anything in this message touched your heart, I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments. You never know who might feel a little less alone by reading your words. And if you'd like to hear more gentle, uplifting guidance like this, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Here's to living with warmth, with courage, and with joy at every age.